describe Leo as perfection. His little face, he's got a little button nose, or he had a little button nose, cute little Cupid's bow, rosy cheeks. There was blonde hair there that had started to curl a little bit, so I reckon he would have had hair a bit like Rory, a bit like his daddy. And he was a big boy, so he was 34 weeks, but he was 50 centimetres long and just over 2.5 kilos.
After Leo was born, first thing happened, I cut the cord, which was really nice of our obstetrician Chris to ask me to do. Great moment to experience as a father, and I remember him just passing Leo straight into Belinda's arms, and again, probably the most emotional we've ever been, I think, at that period. I remember looking across and Belinda holding her little son in her arms, and him obviously being lifeless, but just seeing it's so hard to explain, but the joy on Belinda's face, but also matched with the sorrow was, yeah, it was heartbreaking.
Looking back, I always just think when the midwife handed me Leo, I just remember holding him and just thinking, oh, you're so perfect, and saying that as well, and saying that to the midwife and to our obstetrician and to Rory. And I remember I was just so caught up in our baby, and I looked over at Rory, who was on a chair next to the bed, and seeing him crying, and it sort of brought it back to reality that we're not taking him home. And it was almost, it sounds so silly, but it was like I forgot that for a moment because I just got so caught up. Yeah, we definitely had both always really been strong on our feelings of having children. Rory is fantastic with children, and as soon as I saw him with kids, I just thought, oh, he will make the best dad someday. And children has always been on my radar as well, and I just, couldn't wait to have little mini Rorys running around, really.
It's always something you grow up thinking about, I reckon. It's like at some stage, somewhere along the track, I'll certainly have a son or a daughter of my own, and we'll watch them grow up.
And I think it definitely helps when you've met the right person. You can just imagine that life together with kids and all the chaos. We got married and started trying for children straight away. So we actually had a bit of troubles and ended up going down the IVF route. And we just sort of took that on board. That was what we had to do. And thankfully we were successful with our first round of IVF.
So Belinda rang me to tell me, well, actually FaceTimed me, which she never does, to tell me that we were pregnant, because I was away. And I remember just it was almost relief, the joy, and just a realisation that we were going to be parents, and that was a pretty cool feeling, knowing that I was pretty soon going to be a dad.
So Rory and I had a beautiful day together. We spent the day down at the beach. He had a surf. I went for a walk with the doggies. We got home, had dinner, got into bed. I just said to Roy, nah, I don't think that this is right. I haven't felt movement today.
We're never too concerned. We were just like, oh, little one must be sleeping. It must just, like, I never thought the worst anyway.
We called our obstetrician. He said, head to the hospital, but I'm sure everything will be fine, because we'd had a scan 6 days prior, everything was fine. So we headed in, the staff were wonderful. The nurse was sort of feeling around and trying to sort of get baby to start moving. So she brought in another nurse with her when she brought in the ultrasound machine, and I just sort of thought, it's not great. She popped the ultrasound on my belly, and by that point, you know, we were 34 weeks. You know exactly where to look for the little flicker of the heartbeat. And as soon as I saw it, I could see that there was no flicker. So I sort of said to her, there's not a heartbeat, is there? And she just said, no, unfortunately, there's no heartbeat. And I can't even really remember the moments that followed that, to be completely honest. I couldn't cry. I was just in complete shock.
And then from there, I I'm really at a blur. Like, I remember just looking at Belinda and just basically breaking down and going, this is not happening. It just didn't feel real at all.
So you've found out you're having a stillborn baby and you've just got some of the biggest decisions that you've ever made in front of you that you need to make them, and you've got to make them quickly. You need to work out how you're going to deliver this child. You need to work out when you're going to deliver this child. Then you need to work out how long you're going to stay with your baby before you say goodbye.
Certainly never thought I could feel so much love, and just like wanted to change the outcome so badly. Like we were so upset, but it just first started with like why, like we're almost straight away like, why would this have to happen? He looked so perfect. He had no deformities. His skin was perfect. His face was perfect. And it's just, you're looking, like when you look at he looks like a perfectly healthy baby, but just that's not breathing, and you're like, how does this happen?
It's hard to wrap your head around the fact that he's there and everyone's telling you that everything was perfect with him, but we still can't take him home. So it's really hard to get your head around that. And as soon as he came out, Rory and I both just said, Leo. It just felt in that moment that was our little Leo, that was our little man.
I was like, 100%, that's Leo. So that was first big decision. Next big decision was try and get some family in, so they could meet him too, which was still, I think, those who came in absolutely loved it, and yeah, it was nice to be able to share Leo with our family and a couple of our close friends.
We needed to make the decision of how long we'd like to spend with Leo. Forever would be our answer, but that wasn't going to happen. We had a day and a half with Leo, and of course it's never enough, but we made the most of it.
There's funeral decisions to make, which again, just to try and process all this in the space of 24 to 48 hours was, how do we want to give birth to our son, to how do we want to cremate our son, pretty much. And that was the decision we chose, was to cremate him, put him in a little urn, which we keep with us, and so that way we can keep him with us forever.
That was definitely the hardest part, saying goodbye, because we did a last kiss and a last hug, and then I said, no, we have to do another one, and you know at some point that it's got to stop.
That moment was one of the most heartbreaking moments I've ever felt. Just watching our son being taken away to a funeral home to be cremated, it was, yeah, before he's had a real crack at life, is really heartbreaking. Early on, especially, it's so unknown. I didn't know how to feel, I didn't know what to feel, I didn't know what to do, I didn't know how to help Belinda, which was one of my biggest concerns, is how can I help a grieving mother? Yeah, I suppose early on we just winged our way through it with some great support of our family and friends, some general public, reading some people's stories that have gone through similar stuff, and seeing how they coped was really helpful, and I'm very thankful to those people. We certainly realised we were going to need a little bit of help too, and that's when we got put onto Rebecca, and we sought out a counselling, I suppose you'd say. And that's been some of the most helpful work that we've done, definitely as a couple, to grieve this together.
If there's anything that I could say to people who about the area of grief, I think it's really that there are no set rules. I think that people grieve in many different ways, and the most important thing is that we help them as individuals to grieve in the way that they need to at the time that they need to.
We've grieved quite differently at times. I think Rory went through a bit more of a phase where he was probably feeling really angry, whereas I just felt drained, just emotionally drained. It was a bit different there for a while, but in that sense it was kind of nice because I could be there for Rory when Rory was having a really down day and vice versa.
I think as a society we're uncomfortable with grief. It's something that we don't know what to do. And I think I would encourage them to say just that, which is, I don't quite know what to say, but I'm really sorry for your loss.
I don't think the grieving process will ever end because that hole in our heart will never be filled. That hole is for Leo.
There's certainly moments out in the ocean, I certainly feel like he's with me. There's moments on the footy field, I feel like he's with me. I certainly talk to him out there. And just moments that life bring up. I look for those beautiful moments that you come across, and that normally makes me think of Leo. So I think that's still grieving, but I think that's grieving in a really nice and positive way.
In 20 years within Australia, the statistics of stillbirth have not gone down. So 6 a day approximately. So 6 parents a day are going home without their baby, which to me is just mortifying. I had no idea until we had Leo and until we've done more research. I had absolutely no idea.
The best thing that a mum can do is to get to know her baby's movements. The most recent research also shows that by sleeping on your side during pregnancy, that you're giving your baby the best chance. However, not all stillbirths are preventable, and that's why it's so incredibly important that we continue to fund this vital research.
So the Sloanes were typical of many people in Australia who have gone through perinatal loss, where an explanation is often not found by the older process of standard autopsy. At the end of that process, at least a third of the time, we are not able to give people a reason for why a baby has died. So we've put together a project which is now Australia-wide, and with collaborators at the Broad Institute, Harvard in the US, where we're sequencing the whole genetic code of both parents and also of the baby or the fetus who's died, to see whether there are any genetic reasons.
If we can help families prevent this from happening, or if they are unfortunate enough to go through a stillbirth, and we can provide them just a little bit of comfort or give them some guidance, that'd be an unbelievable legacy for Leo. And if he can do that for others, it makes his father very proud.
And his mum. We would definitely love to add to the family, so give Leo some siblings, brother or sister, and one thing that we know for sure is they'll always know about their big brother Leo.
Yeah, definitely. And then I think what we've found comfort in as well is that they'll always have someone watching over them too, and that certainly helps us, knowing that there's someone always watching over us and he's always with us, and I know he will always be with his future siblings.